because I know this is something that you work with. You work with attorneys, or attorneys send you patients because it's actually like an important part of the business, and obviously for them to represent their clients. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, I think that's where a doctor's pedigree, their curriculum vitae. I think my CV is 25 pages long because I'm constantly taking courses. I've been certified as an impairment evaluator for years. I've studied the 4th guides to the AMA, Guides to Permanent Impairment, the 4th edition. I'm certified in the 5th edition. I just got word that I passed this, the 6th edition. I just got word, because Florida relies on the 5th edition, I got word that I passed that exam also, so I'll be adding that to my curriculum vitae. And I do it to advocate for the patient and to make sure that we're giving them a proper evaluation for impairment. So what does all that mean? That my information gets put online now so that attorneys, when they're searching, I got a patient that's hurt in this area. Who do I send them to? Hopefully they're going to look at our website. Hopefully they'll read my curriculum vitae. Hopefully they'll see how passionate I am about the work I do and how I love being in front of a courtroom. I love doing live testimony in court because I got 6 people or 12 people in the jury, and I get to talk to them about chiropractic and about rehabilitation and about diagnostics and how we were able to take this patient from point A to point B. Attorneys that care for their clients are looking for good quality practitioners to help bring them back to as close to a pre-injury state as possible. And in the case of Bob, he was a criminal attorney, and yet one of the guys in his office, who was a personal injury attorney, had sent me a couple of clients, that needed a Spanish-speaking chiropractor to work on them. And then the guy said, "Oh yeah, the patient said they do a good job." So he came in and he was our patient, for years, for like I think 3 or 4 years he was our patient. And his condition continued to degrade, and anyways, what happened to Bob. But attorneys, I think attorneys are always looking for a good quality doc to send their patient to. And number one, they need somebody who's going to document their case. That's so important. But our work is, first and foremost, it's all about the patient. It's all about getting them better. And if they happen to have a car accident case or a workman's compensation case, it's important that we document what happened so that the attorney can do their job, because that's their job. That has nothing to do with me.
Yeah. What do most accident victims not understand about their medical records that can actually affect their legal case? Because I know this is an important part.
And it's not only that, but something that's very difficult that I've seen happen time and time again is that patients come to me and they're like, "Oh yeah, that attorney, they did a horrible job for me on my last accident." And I go, "I know who that attorney is. They've got a very good reputation." "Well, he didn't do crap for me." People don't understand how all this works. They really should do their due diligence. But quite frankly, I didn't know how all this worked until I got on the short end of the stick. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. When someone's involved in an accident, you've got different components of insurance that are meant not to just abide by the law, but to actually assist the patient in many different ways. And I'll give you an example. In Florida, it's a no-fault state. So you have your insurance and you have your PIP insurance, and you may or may not elect to purchase bodily injury insurance, which means that if you're at fault, you can buy coverage to cover the damage that you do to others. You have underinsured motorist coverage that you as a buyer of insurance can buy. So as people become more successful, a good agent will advise them on the appropriate coverage that they think would be good for them. And then of course it's a give and take game. You want more insurance, guess what? You got to pay for it. You want lobster, you got to pay for it. You want steak tips, it's going to be a little cheaper. Insurance is the same way, and it's not the attorney's fault. People have to understand that. So buy the best quality insurance you can buy. And people have to also understand, if you've got a bunch of tickets, your insurance rate is going to go up. If you've been arrested for something, your insurance rate is going to go up. If you've got a bad credit rating, your insurance is going to go up. Why is that? Because you're a risk. You're a risk. So stay clean,
Mm-hmm.
drive responsibly, buy as good of insurance as you can possibly afford. And I'm going to tell you something. When you get in an accident, if you have the minimum, you're playing roulette. You're going to get upset at the person that hit you, that made an accident. Yes, it's their fault. But let's say you're sitting at a traffic light or a stop sign and you're just sitting there minding your business and you get rear-ended by some kid doing 50 miles an hour. And in so doing, your child who's sitting in the back seat suffers a traumatic injury. And you didn't have good insurance. Shame on you. Because here's the reality. That 19 or 20-year-old or whoever it is that also has crap insurance, your attorney can't do anything for you. They can't do anything for you. You can get, if you've got your PIP insurance, you're going to get your $10,000 of insurance. And I'll tell you something. When people go to the hospital for just, a bang-up injury, the hospitals are very aware of what's going on in the insurance business. And I have to say, I will come out and say it, that there's a lot of wrongdoing going on. When a patient comes in, and if they haven't had a traumatic injury that involves significant physical findings, in no way, shape, or form should they be put into a CAT scan machine. Number one, clinically, it's not really indicated. They've had trauma, but how much trauma? They're complaining of this, but how much of this? If a proper evaluation doesn't reveal significant findings, that CT scan isn't warranted. But here's the beautiful thing for the provider of that CT scan. A CT scan takes 3 minutes. If I send a patient for a CT scan, which I never do because an MRI is far superior, CT scan's about $300. I'll send them for an MRI for $350, and I'm going to get a world of information. Now, CT scans are indicated for some conditions, but for an injury, MRI all the time. Much better, especially the centers that I use. But when somebody goes to some of these hospitals right around here in Southwest Florida, that $200 or $300 CT scan that the providers normally charge, when they know you've been involved in a car accident, they bump that up to $12,000 typically, or 10 grand or 8 grand. Why? They know everybody's got PIP insurance. Bingo.
Wow, they just suck up all that money.
Boom. And then the attorney sends them to a provider who's hoping that there's a little bit left to take care of them. We can only do so much. We can't work for free. Now, as a family person, as an individual who's moving up in the world, working hard and stuff, buy as good of insurance as you can, because it's so important that you protect yourself and the ones in your vehicle. And also that you protect yourself against you looking down at the phone and you hitting somebody from behind and causing catastrophic damage. Because if you have assets, an astute attorney is going to come after it if you're at fault. Now, if I'm sitting at a traffic light and I get struck from behind, or somebody makes a mistake and they hit me, and they're accidents. Most people don't drive into you because they want to. It's an accident. When that accident occurs, I couldn't give a rip what kind of insurance you have, because I purchase good insurance. Why do I purchase a very good policy? To protect myself and the occupants in my car from something that occurs due to the negligence of others, or if I screw up. Also, the uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist portion of your policy is not that expensive, but the coverage that you can buy $1 million worth of coverage. It's going to cost you a couple $100 a year if you've got a good, clean record and you're driving a safe car. It's not that expensive. It also, if you buy a $500,000 BI, bodily injury portion of your policy, that's not going to cost that much. But that insures in case you screw up, that you hit somebody, then you cause damages, that they're not going to come after your assets because the attorney's probably going to be fine with, the damages probably won't accumulate to a level of severity, hopefully, that they don't come after your other assets. You need to protect yourself. And so that patient that says, oh, that attorney's, they didn't get me anything from my accident, they're a crap attorney. You had crap insurance. And guess what? The person that hit you had crap insurance too. You can't sue an insurance company for their client if the client didn't buy that coverage. You can only go for the coverage that that person purchased, and that's it. You can't squeeze blood from a turnip.